Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live stream, to the special edition of Staked Podcast. I have a special guest with me, Intrepidgains, who I am about to bring on here very shortly. And we are going to talk about all things crypto and DAO and NFT. And this is someone who I really admire. Intrepidgains is a successful YouTube channel. He runs a successful Telegram channel as well. And all of that is in the description. So without further ado,
Hello, hello. Hey guys. I'm Intrepid Gains.
so the first question is, where did the name Intrepid Gains come from?
Um, okay, so when I was coming up with a name, I was like, I gotta come up with a cool name. I always warriors and stuff. And I was like, there's so many crap investments in the crypto space. Like I kept hearing YouTubers like they would promote projects that just were awful. And so I was like, I want to make a profit. I like the sound of name, and I was also typing it in to make sure, like I got a unique name. But the actual symbol is like a guy slaughtering, like the Hydra, like the multi-headed dragon. The new heads keep coming up. So
Yes.
that's where the idea came from. I was like, oh, my channel will be about slaughtering those horrible investments and allowing people to be victorious over the Hydra.
I like it. I like the symbology. I like the idea behind it. And so before we get into the nitty gritty of me trying to pick your brain and like, just so the audience knows, we have never talked before. I've watched all your videos. I just really appreciate the high quality content you're putting out. Your analysis, the way you're thinking about things. And can you give us a little bit of an idea of your background in terms of, interest, maybe education, work? Did you play video games? Kind of paint a picture as to why how'd you end up in this space essentially?
Awesome. So I used to be like an engineering manager. I went to school for engineering and business. And so I managed a few engineers at a company back in the day. And then I got into like personal development and that kind of stuff. And so that was actually one of the big changing points of my life when I got like into personal development. And so I went back to college. I was like, I always wanted to get into like futuristic technology, like biotechnology and that kind of stuff. Because when I was on the job, I was learning about batteries and things like that. And I was like, I want to get more. I just wanted more learning, So I went back to school to go for biotechnology. And when I was in school, like I learned about Bitcoin. I think it was like a Reddit post back in the day, and like I just started going down the rabbit hole of crypto, and I was like, this is going to change everything. It's going to change all the society. But I still finished my biotech stuff, and I'm passionate about starting a biotech degree business someday. But I'm using crypto as a conduit to that business path. But I knew that this is going to be the rails to on like getting a lot of finances.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. And so you went back to school. And what year is it that you read that Reddit post?
Oh man, like this is years ago. Like this is when Bitcoin was $27. So and then I put I put a bunch of money into it. Like it's a long time ago now, but I was just putting all my paychecks in the Bitcoin when it was $27. And
That's awesome.
and then I did the same thing for Ethereum. I saw now back in the day, like everybody was a Bitcoin maximalist, right? Like
Yeah.
in the early days, and then so like when Ethereum came up, everyone was calling it a scam. Like, oh, this is a scam, the scam, get out of here. But there were some people that were super passionate about it, even sending out personal messages to people. Oh, you got to check out Ethereum. I even got one. And something broke in me, like I was, oh, this is nonsense. I put it out of my mind because I was a Bitcoin maximalist. And then I looked into Ethereum and I was like, oh, so this is evolving,
Yeah.
and so I bought a bunch of Ethereum at like $8, and then like I pretty much took all my Bitcoin and put it in Ethereum.
You just rode that
Like at
wave.
$8.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that was
so
a good decision.
you I want to return to Bitcoin maximalism because it's interesting that you said that where you started off, and off
Hmm.
screen we talked about Austrian economics, and kind of how I fell into that rabbit hole. But before I do, I just kind of want to tell you a little bit about my journey to give you some context. So
Sure.
I found out about Bitcoin I heard about it, you know, as everyone did, but really it was 2017, and I got in through Ripple. Ripple at 17 cents, you know, went up to $3. I had no idea what I was doing. It was just like, oh yeah, like heard of Ripple, like found it was like Bitcoin. Anyway, so then we have that bubble in 2017. I made a bunch of money at that time, well, a bunch of money for me relatively, and
Hmm.
diversified into Bitcoin, and then into other alts, and then watched me lose all that money, right, over the next like bear market. And so just all the money I just made, I basically just lost it in shit coins, trying to
Yeah. Yeah.
diversify and not understanding the timing and the markets. And but then I really took that experience and started going down, trying to understand, you know, the protocol. But I started off as a Bitcoin maximalist for a while, and maybe you can just tell us about why that was the position you had at one point, and why it's very appealing to, you know, I guess a newbie, and then kind of going back full circle. Am I going to go back to being a Bitcoin maximalist sometime in this next cycle? Like that's what I'm, you know, can you maybe just talk about your experiences with that?
Yeah, great. So yeah, one of the reasons I was a Bitcoin maximalist first was I had the idea like, oh, Bitcoin is programmable. So you could what I knew, like I knew in my mind conceptually that programmable money was going to change the game because you'll be able to create demand for it. You'll be able to add value to it. It'll be able to have functions that in a digital economy, it'll have functions that'll be, you know, powerful, like, you know, like buying a shares of company and it would unlock your building or whatever, you know, like different things like that. And I knew I was like, Bitcoin's programmable money, and people who own it, because it's the first one, will represent its interests in expanding it. And that's absolutely true. We see that with every project. People push like the thing they own, right? But Bitcoin wasn't like, I started realizing early on, well, the reason I was a Bitcoin maximalist was because I knew that people would represent it, you know, because they own it, they represent it, and they're going to push for upgrades. What I noticed was it doesn't have a good governance structure because the miners have all the control and the say, and they have no incentive to improve it. The only thing the miners care about is high returns, high fees. So, and I started seeing that. Like when the first issue came up, the very first issue of increasing the block size, a very simple problem. They had a contentious, it was a contention, like, and no one came to a simple conclusion of solving it and just solving the problem. You know, and everybody still today acts like that problem was not a big deal. It should have been solved. There should have been a path forward. You know, humans are inventive, and I saw how it just didn't progress past that problem. And so I was like, oh, so you need governance, you know, and you need to move beyond miners, you know. And so these are all things that helped my evolution in how I see the space.
Take us to those moments where, and I know, like again, I've listened to all your videos, so eventually I'm gonna build up to, you know, kind of where we are now. But was there any economic influences, any books, any thinkers that were heavy on your influencing how you think about these stuff?
You know, back in the day, I was reading like business books every day. I haven't had time lately because I've been researching the crypto so much in crypto. Like crypto is like big my full time study. But back in the day, I studied like The Innovator's Dilemma. That's one of the best books you're ever going to read on this field. I feel like that one really, and Crossing the Chasm is another one that's close to it. Peter Thiel's books, 1 0 to 1, is good. You know, like yeah, those kind of books. So.
Thank you for those recommendations. Yeah, as we talked about off camera, this started off as a book channel, and so I want to get to Ethereum, and I know how you view. I mean, your most recent video, you've kind of talked about portfolio construction, and I definitely have so many questions about your investment philosophy and how you think about things. But before we get there, I want to just move to that moment where you have this aha Ethereum moment, and then you subsequently go through some realizations with that. So just walk us through that.
So, like, I realized with the block debate that Bitcoin had issues, but then I started watching Ethereum because they would give those conferences, like I think it was Gavin Wood or some of the like Vitalik Buterin. They would give their conferences explaining what is Ethereum. You know, they would, you know, and they had said, oh, simply a computer. It's a trust computer, you know, and they were just giving the simple explanation. And I was like, oh, you know, like this is awesome. And so when I started watching their presentations, that's when I was like, oh, this is the next stage of it, you know. And that's when I went to Ethereum. And then, you know, like even Ethereum has problems today because of the DAO hack. like, and it split because of the DAO situation. I don't know if you're aware of that, but they had a DAO that had major problems, and they had problems figuring that out, and it's because having miners and choosing everything. But ultimately, they did the real Ethereum chose to fix the problem, like go with fixing the problem, versus the Ethereum Classic is the one that didn't do anything. And so to me, it showed that the community chose governance being involved. That there's going to be. So yeah, like that was my and so I've been watching how things have been evolving. So governance is definitely going to be a component of whatever project there is in the future regarding who makes upgrades, which is going to be an important decision making.
It's very interesting to me. I feel like a theme throughout all of this has been the way you are basically reacting to human behavior. Because you kind of told me, like, initially it was like the maximalism, it was about how you felt the evangelicals were going to go about it, and now as you talk about sort of your realization with governance and how important governance is, was based off of the human layer of the interactions of the software. And I find that incredibly interesting. I do want to spend a majority of our time talking about crypto and like your framework, and I have so many questions, and maybe you can challenge some of my ideas. But before we get there, let's talk about investing in general, like portfolio construction, maybe creating assets, versus creating wealth versus protecting wealth, frameworks. Tell us what's been the most influential for you and how you view, investing.
All right, awesome. So like the way I view investing is like, first of all, I'm in the Austrian book, right? Like I believe in like free economies. They call it neoliberalism, and I'm like, they make it sound so dirty, but it's like free markets. Like like come on, guys. Like human beings making their decisions are the best kind of economy that there is. And so the way I view investments is like in a low regulation. Regulation should be there, in my opinion. It should be like there to just help, not like help people not hurt anyone. Like if some business is infringing on someone, that should be where hurting someone. That's where the law should be. But if it is low at regulation, what happens is people should be able to pool their money to small ideas, like new, unique ideas, especially young people. Like the best people that could benefit from a free economy are young people who are funding the ideas that they want the world to have, like the cool, innovative ideas. They fund the guy who's doing that, and it helps them bring more capital, and they could grow with that idea, and that business could disrupt the existing entrenchments. And so there should be an easy place that everyone could go store their value. So when you're older, you could just, the way I see it is life is like, a stream where you start with nothing, and you when you're old, you just want security, right? So when you're young, you should be doing the wild stuff, the stuff that could be disrupting things. Investing in, putting high risk. Everything should be high risk. You got smaller amounts of money, so putting it into high risk things that you're passionate about. And when you're older, you choose to store values and things like that. And sure, obviously, some allocation to things you're just passionate about. And that's the way I see free markets. That in a free market system, people benefit along that path the best, and that's kind of the way I see it.
How do you think about blockchain technology and the emerging metaverse and digital economies, and its relationship to free markets?
So it's the ultimate free market technology. like this is why there's a lot of money to be made in crypto. People still don't get it, so it's kind of easy money right now, still, because people still kind of don't get it. Like even like people over 40, they don't like they might be more prone to buy silver and gold, which I think is a good thing to hold as well. I think those are safe things, but they don't understand that crypto is here to stay, and it's very disruptive. And it's going to do things, that it hasn't been possible before. It's a new technology, but the thing it's disrupting is the value system, like money and securities and businesses, and how humans have business, like our literal business models. It's disrupting all of that. It's a tool for how we do that.
Let me ask you a question. Are humans who are not able to read and write code at a disadvantage in investing in today's landscape?
I would say you have to be like, That's a good question. I would say like my ability to program has helped me like approach it like understanding how these computer systems work, but I still don't understand down to the technical. So the way I see it is like even the developers themselves have don't know which security layer, which actual structure will win out. And that's why you see professionals with so many different models. So where an individual who doesn't know how to program could still benefit is they could say, just like these core developers, like they don't know which particular security model or technical model is going to work, but what they can look at is the token model and what they're telling you and the trust factor, whether you can trust that the team to deliver and whether the token model is really good. And so there's probably a slight disadvantage, but it's not a big one in my opinion.
So you kind of see, I saw a distinction there between like token mechanics and I guess like blockchain mechanics in terms of like security and networking and governance. Can you tell us, can you maybe make those distinctions a little bit more clear? Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, like I would say, so the security mechanics are what makes it actually a trust system. It's like the actual way that the trust is accomplished. Like how the token model uses game theory or uses, they're all using a sense of a game theory. Like even Bitcoin, like miners spend all this money on mining, they don't want to waste their money, right? So they're all operating on human behavior. And so that's the underlying core trust component of this is human game theoretics. And then on top of that is built, so you have this layer that's like this the game theory part. And then on top of that is the token, how the token interacts with that game theory. And so you want to know, based from a simplest point of view, that as the network grows and accomplishes business share, the token value will go up. And so that's what you research when you look at a token model. It's as simple as, do they pay a dividend? Do they burn the token? Do they like what will make the token? It's just simple supply and demand. Will the token become more scarce? Will the demand for the token increase? Things like that.
Thank you for
So yeah.
that. This is again kind of another one of those crypto investment frameworks. I'm curious, would you categorize Ethereum as a layer one and Polkadot as a layer zero?
From when I listen to them talk, Gavin Wood, like Ethereum is built on top of an engine, and everyone who built on it has to accept like these account rules. Like like the framework that they built on top of Ethereum is like from account to account. In Polkadot, I think they even get past that. Like it's more broad than even that. It's like a computer, like almost like a kernel, like on like just a work environment, like a development environment where you can be very broad, and you could take the whatever like, and you could plug and play any. So if you want a certain trust model, you can just grab it from the framework that they offer. What's it called? Substrate. Like you can grab it from Substrate. Like there's these toolkits, and you just grab like, oh, I want this consensus model. So that's that security layer, and I want these token models. I want burning. I want dividends, and you just grab those. Like as a developer, you just reference that in your library, and then you get all those capabilities, and you know that those have been proven secure by the development team that put it in Substrate. So so I would see, yeah, it's a layer zero because you can grab that security layer and just plug it in. Whereas Ethereum doesn't have, you can just grab any security layer. You're using the proof of stake that Ethereum's using. So everything that built on Ethereum is building on that one layer. Whereas in Polkadot, you can have many different consensuses on top of their platform.
Thank you for that. Would you, to that end, then, some of these different tokens that I know that you've talked about, whether it be Unimex or Energy Web Token or the file sharing one, Algo. Luxo, I know, is one that you very. Actually, let's focus on Luxo for a minute because then my question becomes that trust model, right? So you have like Polkadot sitting at the bottom and it's kind of referencing these different trust models that it wants to choose from. If Ethereum's trust model is this like the OG proof of, stake, and then like to me personally, the way I see it is like the trust model is already kind of broken because once you've changed history transactions, like once you've done it once, I feel like you can always do it again. So I'm interested to hear how you think about um, something like Luxo, because the way I've been seeing it is you have these layer one blockchains, and then Polkadot is, and then maybe there's other attempts at this as well, like Atom and Cardano. I don't really know, but it seems like there's these other attempts at like trying to bridge all these layer one blockchains. And so how do you think about that?
So, like pulling in Luxo, like one of the reasons I'm super bullish about that is this is the guy who came up with the ERC20 standard for the 2017, bull run. So his and then he goes off and designs his own blockchain from the ground up around NFTs. So I just know it's going to be just from that.
Yeah.
Like this is one of the OG guys who kicked off the standard in the first place. So he's one of the most experienced, So and he's well connected.
It's like bet on the jockey, not the horse, sort of thing.
Yeah. Like he's if there's ever like if you're gonna go with someone building a rocket, go with the guy who knows what he's talking about. Who's already done a rocket. Now he's doing another one. But yeah, and regarding like how they all pull together, governance is a risk. I think governance is a risk. Like if you're a business, you have to take that risk into consideration. But one of the best things as a token holder is the token itself represents ownership of many of these networks, and that's a powerful element because if you're a business and you need the token to operate, you're also a big voice, and you're like people are going to act rationally in favor. You go with the belief that people are going to act rationally in favor of the token, whether their perspective is wrong, but they're gonna still go for stuff that they think is from their unique perspective, that what's valuable for the network.
So game theory plays a large role in how you think about these things.
Game theory is at the core of like all of this, man. Like game theory, like how humans are going to behave, because like the blockchain is at its top layer, and money is it's just an abstraction in our minds. So like blockchain itself is like it's a thought process in our minds. It's human behavior, and it's how humans interact with their devices and each other. So money itself is the same thing. It's just a concept in someone's mind, and you get used to it. People are used to using the pieces of paper. It's nothing more than a thought process with it. If everybody started rushing to get rid of their dollars, it wouldn't have any value. So I mean, yeah.
I want to talk about this idea of game theory. This is a conversation I've never actually like had out loud with anyone, but I'm interested. First of all, like, are there any good books about game theory that you recommend?
That's back in the day I was looking for good ones. I didn't find a good one. I know there probably is. Like I said, I've been so busy, it's been hard for me to even read. Like I used to be an avid reader. But because we're just research, like I'm in full mode, like learn every blockchain there is, right now, and learn everything about blockchain and just keep on digging like I have a cool video concept about oracles that's going to be coming out pretty soon. Because
I said I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. I'm excited about putting it out because it's like the other. What it is what I basically ask myself is what's the most important thing to learn right now or think about, and I just chase it down and I chase it down and I chase it down because this space is so exciting and growing and there's so much to learn and to stay on top of it. So yeah.
The more you chase it down, where your mind's leading you right now is that the oracle issue is like really at the core of.
Well,
are you basically saying who can solve that problem? There's a lot of money to be made.
Well, what I'm saying is there's like, okay, so in the past, like, you have these ideas in your head and then they change. And that's what I'm excited because like you have some framework about what the future is going to look like. Like one of the things that I've been wondering is like, how are we going to bridge the old system and the new system? Like the bridge between the old and the new. And I just realized it's too late. It's already done. It's done. Oracles did it. Like, because you only need to share data from the old system to new system. You don't need to share anything else. And I'll explain deeper in why, like with my video of like how you don't even need a bridge anymore to banks. The banks don't need to connect. The stock market doesn't need to connect. None of that matters because now data connects through oracles, and the oracles have solved the bridge problem. And so that's super exciting for me to go over.
Yeah,
when I get into depth.
I love those videos that you make, like the ones where you explain, like the 3-part series where you kill Bitcoin maximalism. And one of my favorite ones is the one where you basically talk about how you see the future Um, I definitely want to be able to talk about that, but I do want to go back to the conversation we were having about kind of layer ones, and still pick your brain here, because kind of the way I've been seeing things, and then maybe you can just challenge, because I've took programming one and programming two in college, but like being able to make a little calculator app is not quite the same as being able to build blockchains. Like there's clearly a performance gap there, right? And so I say that just to say I'm technically limited, but the way that I've kind of been seeing things is that you know you have a lot of layer one blockchains like Solana, Luxo, I mean Ethereum. I'm trying to think of some other ones. And then you have these applications that are being built on top of some of these layer ones. Star Atlas being built on top of Solana. Oh, Binance Smart Chain, right? I see Binance Smart Chain as like a layer one now, and then you have Pancake Swap. And then you have these things like Unimex that are being built on top of, like Ethereum and Yearn and those sort of things. And so then there's these apps on top of these layer one blockchains. And so I go back to asking myself, okay, like, what does a blockchain do? It like allows people to all see the same database, right? And so like, what is that useful for? Well, I mean, money, obviously, right? That's probably the biggest one. And so I'm like, all right, the money use case, that one's going to dominate. And then I'm like, well, what else can that be very useful for? And I think it starts becoming like this like weird, like industry specific thing, right? So it's like maybe for the AI industry, you're going to need a certain set of features for a blockchain. And maybe for the fashion industry, you're going to need a certain set of features. In the energy industry, a different set of. And so then that I start kind of seeing how, all right, then there's this underlying trust model where it's like, all right, well, for energy related issues, I'm going to go over to here and I'm going to take this trust model, which is proof of authority, and I'm going to interact. And if I have a finance thing, well, I'm going to go over to Ethereum and take this trust model and I'm going to interact. And Luxo simultaneously, right? And can just like, I see it like this claw machine almost, at least that's the framework that you put it. And so where I'm going with all of this is, where do you think the value accrues? And then like also like what are the holes in the framework that I've kind of just painted?
So that's an excellent way of viewing it. That's exactly the way I view it. Like when they all bridge together, it'll be about what does each one offer for its unique niche. Like Cardano, right, is proof of stake, right? But it's one that could scale, right? And so it could be that higher hyper level of security, but have like a lot of finances run it on it or whatever security they need, or like Luxo could be, the NFTs running all the NFTs or, like a big chunk of them. So like, okay, so the risks with that, so where does the value come from and where are the risks, right? So I'd say the value is anything that's on top of it, on top of a system. The risk could be if there's more value on one of these systems than the system itself is worth. And if that gets too bloated, then it's worth it to break the system to steal that value. And so where the value is derived from is that if I'm some entity who has value on top of one of these systems, I need to know that system is like I might buy that token or whatever if I'm going to store a certain amount of value on it, or you know what I mean? Like, so the risk is if someone doesn't know that the system itself, which I don't think is going to happen if you have big entities, right? Because big entities are going to know where their pocketbook is, where their money is. But who knows? That might happen. But yeah, like if there's more value on a system than the system is worth, then that's a risk. That's the biggest risk. And the value is derived from the fact that these things are like life rafts. They support infrastructure on them. They're a foundation, and they have to be more valuable than what's built on them.
Can you give an example of what that might look like in terms of things being built on top of them becoming more valuable?
So let's say I have a business that has yacht contracts or I don't know, like, and allows a yacht to turn on. This is just conceptualizing my brain. So in the future, we're in the future, and some token representation allows for me to buy $100 million yacht, but I'm using a super small blockchain to do that. And the blockchain itself is worth 70 million. Well, then like someone might buy up all the nodes, or but a lot of these systems will go up in value in market if people try to acquire nodes. but maybe the person, will switch the ownership. It's hard for me to conceptualize. But like an attempt of getting a 51% attack, like let's say someone could buy up 51% of this small blockchain without the market noticing, like there's some amount of sales and the market's unaware that this $100 million thing is on it, whatever it is. Yeah. And so someone buys 51% attack, takes the more valuable thing, transfers it somewhere else into another system. Yeah.
I get what you're saying. That makes a lot of sense now. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Yeah. It's like destroying the house of cards essentially in order to get the king or something. I don't know. That was maybe a terrible.
Yeah. It's hard to consider.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So whenever you think about just investing in this space, in the traditional industry, like we were doing stocks, we would talk about, you're going to have some in energy, you're going to want to have some in, textiles, you're going to want to have some in, I don't know, mining. What are the different categories that you see in the digital asset space broadly, and then if you want to get narrowly as well?
So from a broad sense, the thing I'm most excited about now until it happens is infrastructure. Because like once the infrastructure is laid out, that's going to be the biggest growth. That's going to be the most assured growth, and it's where the least risk is. And so watching where these infrastructures get laid out, and finally when they start getting businesses built on them, and then we get that trust, like from time and value, and we really know that this thing is been running for a while and it's been proven its trust and it's getting more like entities on top of it. Then I'm going to move away from investing in infrastructure, or maybe just being a validator on some of these infrastructure plays, and then going to like specific industries, like there's going to be something that manages the grid, and there's going to be there's probably going to be several that manage the grid, because you're going to have one for North America, you have one for Asian regions or whatever, so there's going to be lots of blockchains, lots of them. And they're all going to connect and do cool things, and it's just going to be. It's like there's a lot of businesses in the world, right? It's a big world, so there's so much opportunity. So yeah, like I'll go in. I am kind of looking industry specific. That's what Luxo is. It's like NFTs, but that's still really broad. NFTs will be used for identification, verification of items, or digital NFTs. And so, there's energy, NFTs, I guess like some other things. I don't know. I can't think of anything else right off the top of my head because that's the big ones. But
so personally, I'll tell you a little bit how I've been thinking. It started off with money. Money was the first thing. And then I started trying to ask myself, okay, well, what is a blockchain good for? Given its properties. And gaming was the obvious one for me, because I am a little bit of a gaming nerd, where I was like, okay, digital value, digital objects, take them out of now we can all look at this database and reference it, and that's people are using that. So that was the second one. And then I guess now I'm at this weird place where I feel like energy is one that's very interesting to me, but that could just be from my background. But also, like, maybe NFT and DAOs are like their own category, but maybe you think differently. Or what do you think about that framework? I guess I'm asking for you to poke holes.
And I think energy, like a lot of people are excited about energy, but I actually think it's more longer term before that one's going to be profitable. I like the energy idea. Obviously, I like the vehicle to grid ideas and concepts. I just personally think it's too early. One of the most important things is timing. I make mistakes. I'm human. Maybe I'm wrong. Like I missed, like one of my biggest mistakes was Terra, like of not investing enough in Terra. But, like I also have a lot of home runs, but it's yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like I'm, human, so I'm gonna make mistakes. I always got to put that caveat. Hey guys, I could be making a mistake here. Yeah. Just, just take my, what I'm saying and weigh it or whatever. But the way I see it is energy might be too early. I think it's going to be a big thing when you have smart devices managing all of the energy grid, and they're consulting with the blockchain and managing power and all that stuff through your vehicle, all of that. That's going to come, but it could be like 5 years away or more. It is happening though. So.
Interesting. So I like where this conversation is going, because timing, that was I think a very key word you said there. How are you thinking about your investment time frames, and how are you thinking about I've been trying to get you on this show for a little while. I know you've been extremely busy. So, but because the market is so hot, how have you been thinking about the short term, the medium term, and the long term?
So, okay, in the short term, I think we have some bull left. But I think we're entering when I said to someone, like, we're entering the beginning of the end, in my opinion, like, I think we're going to go through the crazy phase, and what you're going to see is big jumps up and down. The market's going to constantly try to scare people out. It's going to go up a lot. It's going to go back and down, and to scare people up a lot. And so there's this big gaps, but you do know that when these huge gaps start happening, that's the beginning of the end. And at some point, one of these gaps is coming, and it's not going to come back. That's the way it is. You can't see the future, man. So the market's going to make sure you don't know what's happening.
So how does one strategically plan for that? And then, as someone who's this is the first time riding this wave, how does one make sure that they don't end up getting wrecked on the back end of that, as happened to me?
So, like, just if it's a nice big green candle, take a little bit. If it's you get nice big green ones. And just like as we get some more time moving forward, it's probably better to take a little bit from green candles and not add back if it jumps back down, or you could add back down. It's up to you, or however if someone wants to do it. I'm personally not trading, but I will be looking, like, if it takes off and goes exponential, I'll be taking things off. But I'm gonna look for a high volume. Like, you're going to look for a lot of big sticks in volume, a big media attention. You're going to look for a lot of excitement, and when everybody's in agreement and everybody's super, excited, and you see, like, that's when it'll be closer to
the proverbial taxi cab driver.
Yeah. Literally in 2017, my Uber driver was talking about crypto, and I didn't understand the concept. I wish I was like, oh no, like, I should sell everything, because he was like, oh, I'm getting into this thing called crypto, and it's like, it was literally like the cabbie, like
literally the taxi cab driver.
And then it was like, boom, crashed, horrible.
So that was your sell signal. The universe tried to give it to you.
The universe literally gave me the cab driver story, and I was like, I didn't. I'm amateur at the time, so.
So I'm very interested in learning more about your business at Intrepidgains, what you're doing with your YouTube channel, what you're doing with your Telegram channel, and Patreon as well. So let us know a little bit about your business. I want to hear more about what you've got planned, and yeah.
Cool. So what I'm excited about with Intrepidgains, or the brand, is that crypto is here to stay, and there's going to be plenty of startups and lots of opportunity. Even when there's a bear market, I hope to create a matrix of important data sets, so that I could, when the market, like, slows down or goes into a flat period, if that happens, that we could strategically, make sure everyone in my Patreon is fully aware of what we consider to be the best things moving forward. Because, like, if you get in at the bottom of the bear market, it might be time. I'm going to say, I said, even in my Patreon, guys, there might be a period in a bear market where, like, we're just out and we're not doing anything, but we're researching in the back end, and we'll be providing you important projects to stay up with, and that's all you're going to be doing. It's getting.
I kind of missed that era already, like, from the last bear market, when, like, literally no one was paying attention at all, and it was just like research time. I mean, like, so continue.
Yeah. So that's what it will be. Like, it'll be just research, research oriented. For now, I just try to keep people on top of things. Like, as much as I do, I literally put, like, I learned the most important things to me, and I just put it out there. And that's even when I started the channel. That's what I was just doing. I was like, I'm going to use YouTube as my memory. I'm just going to research in depth into something, and I'll just throw it up on YouTube. And then if I need to refresh my memory, I could go back to my video and watch it. Or if I need to reiterate my process, I can go back and see where my mistakes were and fix that in my model. And so that's what I've been using with it,
I love that. It's like thinking out loud in public. So traditionally, someone like you and someone with your brain, you would be snatched up, and you wouldn't be able to share your ideas with the world. So, like, what does that mean now? Like, that we live in, like, this kind of open source information sharing. Like, what does the future of investing look like in that world?
I think it's a more decentralized world, like where people could, like, I think there's going to be more businesses just like mine that'll start, like, and they'll help manage this large landscape of investment opportunities. And having, like, I see us, like the Intrepidgains crew, or like the people that stick around with our knowledge set, as being kind of like a big, nothing we do is investment advice, but as like a big single whale, like all of like our little guys coming together, we could be a whale and we could pick up good stuff as a group. So we could have a lot of buy power, and that is where and we could benefit from picking solid investments. And the more I grow, like one of my philosophies is, the more the Intrepid Gains followers grow in wealth, the more wealth there is surrounding the brand. So they have to do well. That's the number one goal, is to get everyone who follows the information to do really well. And because that brings, by definition, money over time to the brand, and then it just can become an unstoppable force. Businesses will come to us instead of having that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no,
So.
and I think it's the reality of what's happening, because one of the first videos that I watched of yours was Unimex, and this is when Unimex was at, I think you made the video and Unimex was at like 30 cents or something like that, and I finally got to it a couple of weeks later at 60 cents. And so I mean, thank you, right? Like literally, like helping people make money, and like I'm saying this here out there so that anyone who's watching this, watches the re-one, knows that like you should really go subscribe to your channel, watch the videos, listen. You're putting out gold, and I think it's just a crazy world that we're living in. And the way I've kind of been thinking about this new investment world is, like I said, someone with your brain, I think typically you wouldn't be able to share what you like, and I think that like I think about like the Kathy Woods of the world, and I think about the Raul Pauls of the world, and how like the I guess some of the older, wiser ones who are getting it, and they're doing sort of some of the same kind of things in terms of sharing information. And I wonder, I once heard someone talk about like, I'm trying to remember who it was, but this idea that like essentially the world, the technological future was going to divulge into a group of tech investors who like repeatedly they all were with it, right? And the only money making opportunities was investing, because technology and the deflationary like nature of it like cuts out the cost of a lot of other things, right? And so I'm interested to hear what you think about that, and just maybe just kind of playing out like, let's get cosmic here, because I really like the way you think about the future.
Yeah. What's his name? I'm like, his name is getting on Michael Buff, I think, or something like that. I can't get his name right now, but he talks a lot about deflationary effects of technology. And that is exactly what's happening. It is kind of a mind situation that is hard to deal with, in understanding like things are getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Like the technology is making the world, like anything that you want to be possible, to be practically free. So it's like, like eventually that is a hard thing to think about. Like what's going to be human, what are humans going to be doing when, we have a machine that can produce all the pizza or whatever food you want, or anything. Like, so what are people going to be doing? Like when we have an AI, what's going to happen then? I mean, like, and that's coming. Like, like, but according to Elon's, to get like on cosmic, or like
Yeah.
talking about this kind of stuff, I love Elon Musk's approach. Like Elon Musk is one of my favorite people, because I agree with him the most on what is like the best approach for human survival. First of all, he wants to get off planet, so it's not a 0-1 thing. If a meteor comes and wipes out the Earth, all humans are gone. So it's good that he wants to make it more than one point of weakness with that, but also with the Neuralink, like making humans smarter with like technology. Like becoming smarter will be something that will be helpful in the future. Humans should rise with the AI instead of AI rising without humans, because it's kind of terrifying to think about AI taking off and then humans are just like left here, like running around with no, understanding of anything. Like, so I like the idea of us connecting with the machines. That's our only chance. That's kind of the way he sees it. So,
Are you familiar with the book Homo Deus by Noah Yuval?
no,
I think you'll
should I
like
write this
that
down?
one. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you'll definitely like. It's like one of a three-part series, but Homo Deus is the last one, and he finally gets to the point where he's like, humans are basically going to become immortal, except like the only like we'll be able to live for a very long time, and the only way you'll be able to die is basically if someone shoots you or like stabs
Hmm.
you, and like that will also become like superior smart in the same way that we can look at like the primate like ape, the traditional like ape guy, and we don't recognize that person as being a human. He's like, that's kind of the way humans will look too. Like we'll be all perfect aesthetic, like all have beautiful brains, all it just like that. We won't look like the same type of things anymore. Essentially, is
Have you seen like Altered Carbon, where they like the brain, like their consciousness shoots up into like some system,
no.
and then like so if you die, like it just takes your last snapshot and just reloads you into a clone body, and you just like you come out of the thing and you're like, oh, that was awful.
Let's do this again. Hey, so
Yeah.
let's. I think that's a great segue. How interested? I have not heard you talking too much about metaverses. And
Hmm.
how
Hmm.
how
So
how interested are you in gaming as an NFT as an investment? So like Star Atlas, are you familiar with Star Atlas at all, or Neon District or Axie Infinity, any of these
no, I'm
type of
not.
things?
Like I'm super interested in like when you say metaverses, you mean like VR reality, like realities
Yes.
and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the Vive headset right here. Like I haven't had time to like I'm waiting for like one of the things I want to do is Cyberpunk when that one comes into the VR headset.
Yeah.
I know that there's like mods and stuff, but there's not like the best games for it. But I'm super excited about when it gets to that point. Maybe you could tell me about some games because I've been so busy. I haven't
I
had a
would
chance to.
I would love to talk about one. And I just interviewed the CEO. His name's Michael Wagner, and so if you want to go
Mhm.
watch that, but it's called Star Atlas. They're aiming to be a triple A title. They're having a intergalactic asset offering this coming summer. So look out for that. And it's being built in Unreal Engine 5. So this is the latest and greatest in gaming production cinema, right?
Get me excited. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
super
yeah,
exciting.
yeah. Very exciting, and it's space themed. And the idea is essentially you're gonna have three different factions of humans, aliens, and like some sort of like cyborg type of race, and you join in one of these clans and factions, and there's going to be guilds, and there's going to be unofficial guilds, and everything in the world is going to be NFT based, right? So like the land, the items, the ships, the crews, like, and there's going to be two currencies. There's going to be Atlas, which is the in-game gold, and there's going to be Polis, which is the governance token of development and different, taxation within the game, essentially, for how to make the game self-perpetuating, and how the gaming studio could eventually step back and the game still persist. So I like, to me, this one is, I've been, it's like I said, that's kind of been the space that I've really focused on. I nailed Axie Infinity. I mean, I nailed Neon District is still doing extremely well. Some of the Decentraland, I mean, the chart recently has started doing well. But this Atlas, this one is next level. It's truly next level. And it's like you said, we're not quite there yet. So it's like, I think this is like another 5 years sort of thing before this game actually gets out. But I can wait.
I think that's like what you just said is perfect. So they're like the kid doing their homework, getting ready for the big exam, like kind of like Tesla. Like there was years and years and years of work that had to be done before it took over. Like right now, probably the best time to lay that groundwork for something like that. Because then you could build the infrastructure, work out the kinks, and get out the problems, and then work on that user base. When these
When
headsets
the
are
tech
super
is
light.
there. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and
That's the approach they're
and,
taking.
yeah, it's super exciting because we are closer than we were. Like the headsets are just getting lighter and lighter, and one of the things I've hypothesized is the value with something like that. So once you get like a network effect inside of VR verse, then the NFTs might become priceless because someone will spend hours and hours and hours building some NFT, and no one could steal it and copy it in that environment because it's validated by the blockchain. So in the game environment, no one could steal your NFT. Like you could just spend all these hours making the best suit or whatever, and then you could literally sell it, using specific vectors that are extremely precise, making it look legit, whatever,
Yeah.
and sell it for, who knows, a lot of money. So artists, yeah, and whatever, yeah.
And it also makes like, I mean, like I remember growing up, my mom was always, oh, you're just wasting your time playing games. Like, no, mom, I'm actually like making money, like with the, the items I'm building and selling and,
Yeah,
maybe making more than your parents one day off of doing
yeah.
these games. And what else is interesting to you? I do want to talk to you about this biotech. You mentioned it very briefly, and I think that's super cool that that's something that like you're very passionate about, and like using this platform to launch you into the later. Like I do want to hear about that. I know nothing about this, that area of the world, so I don't even know what I don't know, but would love to hear a little bit.
So I went to school for biotechnology because I'm really into like Audrey de Grey's type stuff, like anti-aging therapies and things like that. So like I kind of see like one of my visions is for my future business is some business where people can go and they can get really rejuvenated. Like people wear like creams and stuff to make themselves look younger and stuff, but no, it would really make you younger. Like
Yeah,
you'd put in younger cells into the person. You'd take away
that'd be dope.
senolytic cells, which are zombie-like cells. So your body has like 7 components to aging. I don't want to get all into that, but there's big like things that you could do right now, like that would be like home runs that where the technology is almost there. And one of the first ones that I would do is like senolytic cells. So you have these cells that are like zombies in your body, and they release bad signaling, right? Like because they're cells that should have died, but they didn't, and they just stick and persist. And we accumulate more and more of those as we get older. Well, if you go and clean out the person of all these bad cells, it's like removing toxins. They're toxic cells. Just remove them all, and then your body can refresh and clean up. Just from that would be a huge pro-life beneficiary to the person that had that therapy. So there's plenty of opportunity with that. So yeah, that's my goal, is to do a rejuvenation type business.
I want to hear a little bit more, and I'm going to let you go very shortly. Try to keep these at an hour, but I do want to hear more about like the self improvement. That's something that I'm always on a journey of self improvement, and even specifically very recently, kind of needed to refine that. And so, interested to hear how you feel about just self improvement, life, business, investing, and your philosophy around all three of those.
So the first thing everybody, like, if you haven't learned this, the first thing everyone should know is to look for a goal, like, or a passion, or like have an objective, visualize it, and see the objective and work, in something you're really passionate about. And you don't know the details, but allow your subconscious mind to just work on that goals, and just like just do something closer to that goal every day. Like just a little bit closer to your goal. Every single day. Take care of your body, have some kind of goal vision that you're working on, and just relentlessly pursue it. Like I wake up, first thing I do is I jump in the blockchain, and until I pass out. And it's just because it's like my vision for it is like it's getting to a certain value that I've have to establish so that I could launch my business in the biotech space. So that's that vision, that goal is constantly persisting at me, and my mind gets me closer and closer to it. Your subconscious mind. You have a reticular activating system. One of these books was talking about that. I think it was Brian Tracy's book or whatever. He was talking about the reticular activating system. It's something in your brain. When you buy a car and you notice your car everywhere on the road.
Yes.
So yeah, it's like that. Like whatever signal you give to your brain, like towards what your goal or your objective is, that you send to your brain, you will notice the patterns and pathways, just like you notice your car. You will notice the pathways in life, so that you take those pathways, and you'll be getting closer and closer to your objective.
I like that. Thank you. One thing I think is very clear over the course of getting to know you and from afar, and now I guess still from afar, but a little bit more intimate. You're clearly a autodidact of sort. So like, what's your thoughts on just like self learning and like how do you view, because I can tell that you're the type of person who's teaching himself, learning stuff, not ever going to stop. So like, how do you view that in terms of the philosophy of your life and everything you're doing?
So I mean, I just love learning. Like there's some thing about learning that makes me feel like I'm adding like value to myself. Like bringing in knowledge, is like there's one investment. Like you can invest in any project or in anything. But investing in yourself and learning, I just feel like you're just growing and embracing the reality of life. And you know, it's just great to learn. Like it's the thirst that is never filled. It's always the cup that you can always drink from, so to speak. Like I love learning. Uh, so,
Yeah.
what does autodidact mean? I don't heard that before.
I believe, maybe I have the wrong word, but I believe autodidact is someone who can read and like teach themselves essentially. I think like
Yeah,
a self learner.
I mean, yeah. That's what I was always known for in my previous job. Like, one of my bosses gave me an electron microscope, and he's like, like go figure this out. And I just taught myself the whole electron microscope, uses and like the spectrums and how to identify certain materials using the X-ray in the electron microscope, and gold plating little things. So it was really cool figuring all of that out. So
I knew this
yeah.
about you because this it's like this space that we're in. There are no guides, right? And like I mean, you really are kind of paving the ways. And even from the videos you put out on YouTube, um, it's clear you can't have hit so many home runs in this industry without having taught yourself a whole bunch. And so I just wanted to get any advice for myself and the audience that you had in that. But I know I said I was going to take up I said I was only going to take up an hour of your time. Is there anything that I didn't mention, didn't talk about, or something that we should have discussed that you want to?
No, I feel like we covered everything pretty good. It was a great interview. I
Yeah,
enjoyed it. It's nice meeting you.
same.
Uh, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. So
Everyone, go ahead. Make sure you head over to Intrepidgains channel. Again, that'll be in the description. Mike, thank you for your time, and see everyone, the dorks out there. That's what we call ourselves.
yeah,
Stay staked.
I know. Yeah,
And
we're nerds.
right, that's what I'm saying. Like, it is just
Yeah,
here we
yeah,
are.
yeah. The nerds will inherit the earth.
They always said, "Be nice." We were going to turn out being the bosses, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll see you, Mike.
All right, later, man.